Tonight on Paige's Kitchen, I'm very excited because I've accepted a challenge. Yes, Deb and Dawn, this is all about the squash and zucchini au gratin. I guarantee your son Adam is going to love it. This is a big challenge, I understand, but I'm ready to accept. So let's take a look at what we are using today. We're using Montreal steak seasonings. This is one of my favorite seasonings to put on vegetables. Some heavy cream. I've got a little Wonder flour in case the sauce doesn't thicken enough. That's just for an emergency if that happens. Some smoked Gouda cheese, which will give this a tremendous flavor. Spanish onion, some garlic. We've got our zucchini and our squash. Here's our smoked Gouda that's been grated, and then Parmesan cheese will be used once I put the cream in here to thicken this sauce. So I've already gone ahead and used half of this onion. I like using the Spanish onion because their flavor is slightly sweet, but they last a long time at home. So if you buy a couple onions, sometimes the sweet onions like a Vidalia will go bad after about a week. These will last at least for a couple of weeks. So I've gone ahead and sliced this onion really thin, and I have 3 garlic cloves in here. For your garlic, instead of mincing it, I just want you to peel the garlic clove and give it a good pop. And it's going to smash it, and then you're going to put that in there with 2 tablespoons of butter and your onion, and you're going to sweat that down. As you can see, that's already happened, so I'm going to remove these garlic pieces now because I just really wanted to infuse some garlic flavor in there, but I didn't want it to be too much. If you really, really want a lot of garlic flavor, of course you could mince these 3 cloves, but I like just to add them with the garlic to be a little bit subtle. So we're going to go ahead and put this on the stove. I'm going to put the cream in, and then we're going to bring it to a slow simmer, just enough to where it'll start to thicken. So let's take it to the stove. Okay, now that I've poured the cream in here, it's starting to bubble just a little bit. I'm going to turn it down. I have it on medium. Let's talk about the squash and zucchini for just a second. As you can see, I have it cut in uniform sizes. I like the smaller zucchini or squash for the simple reason I think they're more tender. Plus, once they start getting a lot larger, if you've ever had a garden, you know by the end of summer, they just keep growing, and they get a little bit tough, and the seeds are too big in there. And not only I think is that unattractive, but I just think it's better to have your vegetables tender. So as you can see, this cream is starting to bubble right now. I'm going to let it just start to thicken just a little bit. This is a non-stick skillet, which I think is the best thing to use. This smells wonderful already. Just that little bit of hint of garlic is coming through. Once it's starting to bubble and I can see it's cooked down just a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and add some seasonings in here. Again, these are Canadian steak seasonings. If you've never used these before, I'm telling you, it will really pep up your vegetables a lot. If you are using that, don't add any salt or pepper until after you taste it, because you don't want it to be too salty. As you can see, this is starting to thicken now. I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle in this Parmesan cheese. This will really thicken this sauce up. And if you think it's getting too thick, you could always add just a little bit more cream to it. And as soon as I get this incorporated in here really nicely, I'm going to add the zucchini and squash in here, and I'll cook that for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to put it in the oven. This is a very fast dish, and it's a dish, again, if you're trying to get your kids to eat vegetables, I mean, there's cheese in here, okay? So what is there not to like if we've got cheese involved? So this is looking absolutely perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and add my vegetables in. Squash, zucchini, both are vegetables. They're like mushrooms and like onions. They're mainly water. And so they cook down. So when initially you think, wow, that's a lot. That pan's really full. This will start to cook down. And I just want these to be just a little bit tender. Get them incorporated in here in all this sauce. And let's let these go for about 5 minutes, and then we'll be ready to put it in the oven. Okay, this has been cooking for about 5 minutes. It looks great. In fact, I had to add a tiny bit more cream to it because it was getting really thick, and I wanted to make sure that all the vegetables were covered. And so as you can see, it's still bubbling. I'm going to turn this off now, and we'll be putting this in the oven at 425, and it only needs to bake for about 15 or 20 minutes. Grated one whole wheel of the Gouda cheese. Make sure you take the rind off before you grate it. but I want this to be really good and covered. The smokiness of this cheese really adds a lot of flavor to this. So if you've never tried this cheese before, I think it's always good to branch out and try something new. And it really, really pumps up the flavor on this. If you wanted to, now could be a time. Remember the other weekend that we made the breadcrumbs that we used, the homemade breadcrumbs. If you have those, you could add those on the top of this if you liked. But I'm just going to add a little bit more steak seasonings here on the top. And then when it comes out, I'll take a look at it. I'll probably add some dried parsley or some fresh parsley to it. So let's put this in the oven now, 15 to 20 minutes until it's nice and bubbly, and then it'll be done. Okay, let's check this out. That is nice and brown, and it is super bubbly, so please, please, please be careful when you take this out of the oven. Got my oven mitts here. And like I mentioned earlier, this would be fantastic if you had wanted to put some breadcrumbs on the top, but as you can see, this cheese is nicely melted, and it is very hot. Be careful when you take this out. Now you could put dry parsley on here like I mentioned earlier. I'm going to add just a tiny bit of cayenne pepper on the top, just a little bit. So be very light when you sprinkle that across. It's going to give it just a tiny bit of heat. And instead of using dried parsley, I have an herb garden here, and the parsley this year is just coming in like crazy. Despite all those days of freezing weather that we had, the parsley is just doing wonderful. I have a lot. I just picked this morning, so I'm going to put fresh parsley on here. I'd rather always use fresh herbs if I have them. That's the beautiful thing about growing your own, is you can just go out in the backyard and pick it. So we're going to let this cool down for just at least 5 minutes because it is so hot, and then we'll go ahead and serve it. But it looks beautiful and it smells really good. Okay, this is cooled down enough, I think, to eat. We'll put it in these little bowls. This is a great side dish to have. And then I'm going to give it to Adam. He's behind the camera. I tried to get him in front of the camera. He won't come out here. So he said it's not fair though, I put so much cheese on it, so so we'll see what you think. So, ooh, that is still really hot. You maybe better wait a minute. Give it to you. I think it's fun to find good side dishes that will please the entire family. If you wanted to make this a dish that was your main dish, you could add protein to it. Maybe some shredded chicken in with the vegetables would be good. So now I'm watching him eat it. I'm getting Mom, Dad, Deb, Dawn. He gave it 2 thumbs up. What more can you want? I know you can do this. Try it out. Zucchini and squash au gratin, all for you.